Hello there guys, I hope you're doing well. Today I have possibly one of the most important Blackout videos you are ever going to watch before the release of the beta. As within this video, I'm going to break down and deliver brand new information you've never heard before about Blackout in its full entirety. We are talking about every map location, every loadout perk you can use, zombie specific areas including 10 new screenshots from Blackout, special character unlocks and character missions, how health works in Blackout, every single vehicle, how many weapons you can carry as well as the ammunition types, attachments for your weapons and even some zombie weapons too. We'll also talk about storm mechanics inside of Blackout because they are very big and compared to other games is very unique. And of course some looks at multiple areas throughout the Blackout map, including zombies maps inside of Blackout, and we have multiple to discuss, which is extremely exciting. This is honestly the only video you're going to need, so get comfy, grab a snack, enjoy, and if you're logged into a YouTube account right now before we start, make sure you've clicked that thumbs up button, as that will help share this video out there. And if you want to be kept up to date with even more Blackout news and information, including gameplay, make sure you've clicked that subscribe button and click the notification bell. So without any further ado, I think it's time we talk about Blackout. I'm going to start with the locations on the map. And on your screen, this is Newtown Island. This is what the Newtown Island looks like, which is so cool, and it's part of 10 unique destinations you can go to inside of the Blackout map. We have Estates, which is a rich neighborhood that has a giant helipad where a little bird can spawn. Good location if you want a shot at getting a chopper early. There's Construction Site, which is the unfinished skyscraper, which has a ton of loot and lots of opportunities to base jump out of the high areas to safety if things get too hot. Array from Black Ops 1 is making a return, which has a few slices of elevation and place centered around the big relay dish, which makes for a brutal war zone with lots of cover. Newtown Island has lots of gear underground in the bunkers and lively action potential above ground, spurred on by a sign that identifies how many players are active in the vicinity, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Firing range from Black Ops 1 is in here, and it's the hottest of the hot spots. If you want instant action with plenty of players, this is your go-to destination. So think of like the tilted towers of Blackout. We have Hydra Dam, which is big base jumps and deadly falls make up the critical point at the end of the map's lengthy forking river. Then we have Asylum, which is verruckt. You never know if you're going to run into zombies as well as other players landing here, and while an early zombie supply stash is tempting, undead interference during your early loot and scoot can be dangerous. There's Cargo Docks, which has lots of elevation changes, a ship to roam on, and a giant crane arm. It's a great place to pick up a boat spawn. Factory, where there's lots of battles that go indoor and outdoor with rooftop ambush action. Fracking Tower, which is located in a depression highly exposed to the hills surrounding it. Turbine, which is bridge-to-bridge combat, large internal and exterior areas, lots of desert and rocks to battle behind from Black Ops 2. Rivertown, which is an urban combat, building-to-building fighting, perfect for close-range encounters, and the only area on the map surrounded completely by water. And Train Station, where long sight lines and train car-to-train car combat. Now, there's so much more to touch upon, but I'm going to talk a little bit about how zombies works inside of Battle Royale, because I know me personally and a lot of you guys watching are very interested in hearing how that works, and we have all that info for you now. And Blackout introduces AI zombies in designated regions. So instead of using an indicator on the map that zombies are spawning, a brilliant ray of light shines down on their active location with up to 2 zombie spawn areas available at any given time. You need to pay attention to see where the zombies are and then determine the risks of engagement, because the rewards can be sweet. So in one round of Blackout, a team head to the Asylum destination, which is verruckt. Zombie spawns are manageable compared to traditional zombies mode. There's just a handful of the zombies active at a time, but killing them spends valuable ammunition, and the noise of your gunfire makes it easy for players to get the drop on you while you're occupied with the undead. Savvy players can easily move into critical sight lines or hammer you from behind while you're distracted. But on the plus side, zombie drop loot and their active locations feature a coveted zombie supply stash, which can contain powerful and rare weapons and items. In an interview with David Vonderhaar, he confirmed that melee weapons are in the game but wouldn't specify, as there's one which links to zombies, which I can reveal to you now is called the Zwellhander, which is a large two-handed sword primarily in use in the early decades of the 16th century. We've not seen this in a trailer yet for the zombies mode, so we don't know what the relevance is to the zombies mode, but we can also find the ray gun and monkey bombs. If you like the sound of that, let me know in the comments section. If you haven't already, drop a thumbs up, because we still have so much more to talk about. Now, engaging the undead is optional, as they are only available in tiny slices of the map at certain times. If you just want to forget they exist, then you can. But if you want to jump into a situation that's almost sure to have some action, and maybe come out suited and booted, the blazing beam in the sky leads you to potential greatness. Before I go any further, I just want to mention as well that within the details, the players don't seem to make this a big deal, but one of the other zombie destinations, the beams of light, take them to a diner. Now, you should have alarm bells ringing, because that confirms that transit, at least the diner portion, is going to be within the Blackout map. I am so stoked to see that. I hope we see remnants of the transit bus. It'd just be so good to see that neon sign in full HD glory. If you guys are excited for transit in Black Ops 4, make sure you click that like button. In this screenshot we see here of Verrückt, which we can see as the back of it, you can clearly tell that is the Verrückt building. There's no doubt in my mind that it is. There is a very strange looking maze behind Verrückt. Now, the only time we've ever seen a maze like that in the Black Ops universe is in the map Buried. Now, bear in mind the entrance looks a little different than how we remember it, and there wasn't necessarily a thing in the middle of the maze, but rather towards the front middle. It still looks a lot like Buried's maze section to me, and if it is, I'm going to be incredibly excited. It's a coincidence that a maze like this is put right next to a zombie's location, so if this is Buried, I'm going to be freaking excited, because I'm sure everyone watching on this channel has known that I've wanted a Buried 2 for the longest time, and we might actually get to see a little bit of Buried return in Black Ops 4, which is super, super exciting. Let me know what you think. Does this look like Buried to you, or are you debunking it as just a random maze? I'd love to know. Next bit of detail what happens when you come across a load of players in a zombie-specific region like Asylum, and also discussing how the health works. So there was multiple teams and NPCs waiting for them when they started looting at Verrückt. Even in loot-rich areas like these, you can still end up vastly underprepared when 10 plus people are all scrambling to find weapons. The zombies add to the chaos, ripping chunks of health out of unarmed players. Players scramble up the steps of a decrepit old building and grab a weapon. Turning around, they take out an enemy with a hail of gunfire, making sure they pump a few extra rounds into them after they're down so their teammates can't resurrect them. Then they get an unfortunate good look at zombie interference as a zombie jumps into the line of fire just as one of the downed player's teammates rolls up the stairs and empties a weapon into him. It doesn't finish them off, since the zombies are messing with him too, so confirms that even if you're downed, zombies can still kill you. The player's team takes out the enemies, picks that player up, and shares some bandages which are easy to split from the inventory. Player's health starts at 150 in Blackout, but it can be enhanced to greater numbers with perks. Jump into perks in just a second, but there are multiple health items available, including basic bandages, trauma kits, and king-size med kits. Quality varies, but there are no restrictions in terms of restoration. Unlike other battle royales, you can still use basic band-aids to take you back to your health cap of 150. So, unlike games like Fortnite, for example, bandages only get you to 75 before you need another healing item, while this can get you all the way to 150. Say health items are critical and numerous. Like I mentioned, Blackout features some special perks that you won't find in standard multiplayer, alongside tweaked versions of multiplayer perks, which are labeled as powerful perks and consumables. So here's some of what you can use on the battlefield. The first one being Paranoia, which gives an audio alert when you're targeted by an enemy. Skulker lets you move faster while you're crouched and prone. Stimulant increases max health by 100 points, and I think this is going to be a very heavily debated perk and consumable to use, as the arguments about armor in the beta were so rampant that I just don't see having more health than other players being a balanced thing, but we'll see how that goes. Outlander, where you have reduced damage from the circle, increased speed while taking damage from the circle. Looter, which reveals nearby stashes and items, probably very useful for the beginners jumping in who don't know the spawns for these chests. Iron Lungs, which allows you to hold your breath longer while shooting sniper rifles or diving underwater. And finally, Consumer, which reduces time it takes to use items, heal or revive teammates by 20%. And instead of these being permanent boosts, the perks perks are consumable with a set duration that usually lasts a few minutes, so there's your balancing, guys. The timing usage is essential if you're hoping to win. Using a lot of perks early can give you an edge, but then you may find your supplies dry when you need them later in the final circle. Many abilities from Black Ops 4 multiplayer, like the grapple gun and cluster grenade, make their way into Blackout as consumables. So a grapple gun may come in with 5 charges, whilst a sensor dart may come with a single shot. And to just be specific on these specialist weapons, you can find them around the map, and any player can use them. These aren't tied to a specific character. Jumping back into the game details, they were feeling especially cautious since the game kicked off with a big win at Varuk, so they pressed their luck and looked for another great beam in the sky, each of which indicates another zombie den. And on the way, they jump in the river to get a feel for how water works in Blackout. The river has a current, so you may struggle to swim upstream if you're navigating waters without a Zodiac watercraft. You can fire underwater just fine, and mobility is still high, so you're not a sitting duck. In fact, hiding under bridges and taking a dip can be an effective defense for avoiding roaming choppers. Now here is the exciting thing for all zombie fans. I was reading this and I was actually taken aback. But they make it to the diner that the ray of light is shining down on and start slaughtering zombies. So that means part of transit is in the Blackout map, which is so freaking hilarious. I'm so happy this has made it in. Ammunition and other loot pop from the zombie bodies as they drop. Of course, the prospect of a zombie stash attracts attention, and they find themselves under heavy long-range fire from a hilltop tree line. Fortunately, one of them has a sniper rifle, a nice scope, and a backpack, one size only, that gives them additional carrying capacity. I'm ready to pop some perks which take up inventory space and take on the team. Bullet drop is a factor in Blackout, and it takes a few shots to dial in on a prone opposer obscured by a bush. Weapon damage has been slightly altered compared to multiplayer, a touch that makes fights last a little bit longer than usual. It makes sense as there's a bit more invested in Blackout compared to modes where you can respawn instantly. We've spoken a little bit about the health as well as the consumable perks, but let's get a breakdown by the numbers. As it currently stands, Blackout has 3 tiers of health and armor, 8 primary ammunition types, 12 equipment items, 17 consumable perks, 17 weapon attachments, 24 different weapons, and 125 items. Now, these numbers could change before the game launches, but this is what is going to be in the beta. We've discussed that. Let's talk a little bit about what happens before you jump into a match. And we know that you can play as solos, duos, and 4-player person squads known as quads. But in team play, friendly fire is on, so you need to be careful. The person playing this plays and teams up with David Vonderhaar, who's as animated as ever and eager to get into the game. He dials down deep into the systems and mechanics, and he immediately outlines how things work in the squad, where you call out the number of enemies, distance, and a nearby identifiable object when you spot a target. So that just goes to show you a little bit on how big this is and in terms of the scale. Before they can start playing, they select characters, and there's a large roster to pick from, and Vonderhaar says many more will be added after launch. You'll unlock more as you play, forming the backbone of a progression system in Blackout. You can pick some memorable characters throughout the history of the Black Ops series, including campaign heroes, zombies mode stars, and Blackout specific characters new to the franchise. These combatants are strictly cosmetic. Everyone drops into Blackout with nothing, but they're a fun way to show off some of your accomplishments or bring some style into a match. In this first game, the person at Game Informer picks Scarlet, one of the new zombie mode additions, and gets ready to rock. A flying formation of drop choppers take a set path across the map so your team can plan a starting location on the map, which looks comparable in size to those in Fortnite and PUBG. They decide to visit an iconic Black Ops region, Newtown Island, and by the time they dive out, almost no one is left on the chopper. It's a safe drop by any standard. While speeding toward the ground, they learn about the wingsuit every player brings to the fray. You drop extremely fast out of the sky and can position yourself toward drop locations quickly, covering great distances in a short amount of time. Your automated parachute kicks in right before you hit the ground, likely only for a few seconds depending on the drop. This is important outside of the drop phase as well, as you can base jump anytime when your vertical situation calls it. Whether you want to leave a tall structure like one of the new areas which is a skyscraper and you can literally jump out the windows, or need to bail from an MH6 Little Bird light helicopter you found on the map. Base jumping also has combat applications both for initiating and getting out of battle, so mastering it is a definite boon. But be careful as there's fall damage, and mistiming base jumps or helicopter exits can cause an embarrassing death. They land on Newtown Island, where the nuke has ostensibly gone off. The landscape is devastated, and a giant signboard on the island shows a number of players at the destination. So if you're playing with a party of 4 and the sign says 7, you know you have 3 other players around that you're probably going to have to deal with right away. If you can see the sign, chances are someone else can too, so be wary. Newtown Island is a loot-rich location, so they quickly scurry underground to hunt for gear, and they grab a few different guns, tier 3 armor, a plethora of various health packs, and some scopes. They land near another team and the fight is on almost immediately as they come out of the bunker. Confirm the Nuketown bunker, boys. It's a common occurrence in the Blackout. Destinations are often contested right away, but survivors enjoy much better loot most of the time. Land outside of these destinations and you may have to make do with lesser options, but you also have a much better chance of avoiding immediate combat. Now, a few moments ago we spoke about characters, and when you first start the mode, Blackout offers a few generic playable characters, but the unlockable roster of familiar and new faces is deep, with more than 20 characters to pick from and many more on the way. Cosmetic characters are your primary customization and progression element in Blackout. Many classic names from previous Treyarch made campaigns are playable, like Frank Woods, Victor Reznov, Raul Menendez, and Alex Mason. Fan favorites from Zombies can also be unlocked, including Takeo Masaki, Tank Dempsey, Edward Richtofen, and Nikolai Belinsky. The Call of Duty Black Ops 4 specialists and new zombie cast also make appearances. Now, each characters are unlocked by completing a unique mission. For example, to gain access to the specialist character Battery, you have to find her War Machine grenade launcher in a game, get a few kills with it, and finish among the top 15 players. Missions vary in complexity, and some of the more iconic combatants may require multiple missions to unlock. Often, items relate to these characters' unlock missions take up inventory space and can be dropped and lost on death, so you may be able to steal someone's special item and collect a character for yourself. Studio design director David Wonderhart isn't concerned that the unlocks will be too difficult. He says it will be easy to tune things and change them in case players are having a lot of trouble collecting certain ones. He says Treyarch will likely create event weekends where it will be far easier to obtain character items and complete their mission. Other cosmetic things like calling cards and icons can be unlocked in Blackout as well, but none of the characters, including the generic ones, are customizable. Jumping to the player's game there, it didn't work quite well. The game ends quickly as the team is divided around the island and gets picked off as they fail to gather up. But a few minutes later they're dropping again, seeking a less action-packed run. They select an offshoot location with just some warehouses and homes, but they didn't get the solace they were looking for as another team lands right with them. One player pushes the button on a garage door and realizes someone on another team landed directly behind them and punching them in the back. Their health drains rapidly and no guns are in sight, with just a pile of ammo and the throwing hatchet ability from multiplayer right in front of them. The enemy gets down to about 40 health before they whip the one-shot kill weapon at point-blank range into the generous target presented to them. That player goes down and the wail from across the room is satisfying. Anyone that plays Battle Royale knows the emergent stories that come out of these games can be awesome, from little momentous rounds of early fisticuff scuffles like this encounter to much bigger ones involving multiple vehicle pileups. While they showboat and gloat about the hatchet kill around the room, the team is already under heavy duress in the nearby buildings. Since they landed with another team, weapons are at a premium, and about half the players in the vicinity are wandering around with nothing as they frantically search buildings under the watchful gaze of their equipped teammates. The next few minutes are a whirlwind as they attempt to locate the last remaining survivor from the other team, who's trying to pick off a quad one by one, baiting them into a vulnerable choke point. The lone wolf picks off 3 of them before going down, crippling the team and effectively taking out the entire game for the match. Thankfully, the lobby and the next queue are only moments away and all eager to get back into the fight, and you can spectate or leave and jump right into another round. The choice is yours. The speed at which you can get back into another match takes a lot of the sting of defeat out of the equation, meaning it's very rapid to get in and out of these games, which is really good news. Now, I've spoken about vehicles quite a bit throughout this video, and I made a video earlier breaking down the confirmation of vehicles, but we can now go a little bit more in depth on exactly how each vehicle works. Vehicles are a big deal in Blackout. The map is large, but the 1,500 Newtown sized Treyarch mentioned doesn't really put things into perspective. From two of the most distant points in the map, it would take around 5 minutes to sprint from one end to the other, which means while you're not forced to find a vehicle to keep up with the game, it sure is a luxury. And in the beta, some vehicles are available for high mobility and advantageous combat opportunities, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, with more expected to come later. Vehicles are much more than travel devices and can be used in a variety of ways, including just running opponents over. If you're running solo, you can even seat swap in a chopper or car and attempt to pilot and gun at the same time in a frenzied fit. The vehicles currently in the Blackout beta are the ATV, the cargo truck, the Little Bird, and the Zodiac. ATVs can currently hold 2 players, 1 pilot and 1 passenger, and get you across the map fast, creating distractions with an annoying horn, or function as a speedy skirmish vehicle for quick and dirty encounters. Blaze by with your passenger shooting and destroy the enemy before they know what hit them. You can also find an ATV early in a match and go off exploring for more, ending up with a convoy of 4 ripping across the land. Second is the cargo truck, which holds up to 4 players, 1 pilot, 4 passengers, and this is an incredible mobile arsenal. Unlike other vehicles, the cargo truck functions as well as a storage unit, where you can stack up to a ton of loot and be better prepared for any situation. While you may not want to commit one of your 2 primary weapon slots to a rocket launcher during tiny house breaches, it's great to have one handy on the back of a truck for when a chopper appears overhead. The truck also features non-traditional seating. Players can crouch and lay prone in the back for additional cover. Next is the Little Bird, which is the helicopter, which can hold 4 players, 1 pilot. The helicopter is a blast to play with and gives players the chance to unleash hell from above on targets below. As you can imagine, letting loose with multiple players and guns from the air is a huge advantage until it's not. While the Little Bird is awesome, it's also vulnerable, and if you're not careful, your entire team can be taken out with a single well-placed rocket, a sniper that takes out the pilot, or even just bad piloting into a warehouse. That said, the Little Bird is easily the favourite vehicle as pilot or passenger. It controls well even when you hop in for the first time. And lastly, we have the Zodiac, which can hold 3 players. It's a boat strictly for water travel, and it's a great way to navigate the huge forking river that cuts a swath through the middle of the map. You thought we were done there though? No, because we have even more goodness for your faces. For the next match, they're requested to go in the chopper, as they love to pilot or just hang off the side of one, and vehicles are not lacking at all on the map, and you can quickly learn the places that little birds are most likely to spawn. The helipad at the estates look like a good place to start, so the team goes off the beaten path and takes a long drop toward luxury. There's a basketball court on the grounds, and you can shoot some hoops there if you take into account that the ball takes up a weapon slot and leaves you vulnerable to any passers-by. The game world has other, just for fun, interactive objects for players to hunt down, and I bet you some of those are going to end up being zombie specific, which is going to be so cool. One of the things they immediately noticed in Blackout is the weapons are plentiful. You rarely need to scavenge through multiple houses or landmarks before finding something to shoot. The first moments of a match are often furious and frenzied, and fists may come into play, but the hunt for anything to defend yourself isn't often a real problem. Instead, the early stages of a match are about upgrading your loot and developing the weapons you like via attachments like suppressors, scopes, and grips. You can carry 2 weapons at any given time, swapping out guns you don't like for new ones or as required by your ammo situation. And remember what I said earlier, there are 8 different types of ammunition in the game. Blackout uses a quick equip system, so anything you pick up is immediately attached and equipped. So in practice, the instant equipping makes a lot of sense given the intense nature of the game. So nothing like PUBG where you have to drag the attachments onto your gun in the invent, it's just already put onto your gun the moment you pick it up. You're going to want that gun in hand, grenade available, and scope attached as soon as possible. But if you don't like an attachment, you can quickly jump into the menu to move things around as you please. You can also find coveted gold guns from special chests. These are significantly better than standard weapons and come with pre-attached augments and enhancements. The location choice paid off when they found one of these, which was a spec'd out Titan light machine gun amidst the estate's expensive cars, fancy art, and swimming pool. These chests have set spawn locations, but they don't spawn every game. The scavenging done, they finally get the chance to hop in the Little Bird. The controls are intuitive even to a novice, but air travel comes with significant risks. The choppers are easy to shoot down, especially with rocket launchers, but being able to speed over the map is worth the trade-off. Teammates can lean out the side of the bird ready to fire upon anything on the ground with a huge advantage. As in other Battle Royale games, the field of play is dictated by a circle that gets smaller and smaller, focusing the action and forcing it. Blackout's closing circle destroys items and can punish players who get too greedy trying to skirt the confines of play. If you attempt this in a little bird, it could cause helicopter malfunctions that bring your whole team crashing to the ground. The circle also collapses into nothing in Blackout, meaning it will eventually engulf everything if players somehow manage to avoid each other in the tiny final area. In true Treyarch fashion, players essentially experience vivid auditory and visual hallucinations outside of the later circles. Don't imagine yourself in that frozen forest. Luckily, the air adventure occurs without incident, and they drop the team off inside the circle, ready for action. A lot of frenetic looting occurs in the next few moments. They suspect a few other teams are in the area, so they stick a sensor dart in a nearby building, giving the team radar ping locations of nearby foes. Sadly, sensor dart reveals multiple teams are converging on their shack, and one of them gets a little too ambitious and goes down. As the circle moves in, more people die. The chopper ends up outside the circle, so another survivor from the squad and I must continue on foot. They're among the last 10 remaining players. The circle culls players quickly, as it was meant to. And when this player gets shot through a window by a sniper whose teammates distracted them with monkey bombs and smoke. Only 2 players were left, one of them being the teammate. Despite everyone else being dead, no one had left the game. They were all spectating. The intensity and tension inside final circles have a hypnotic effect, creating highly viewable situations that are almost like watching an unlucky victim open a door in a horror film, sucking in your breath and shouting, "No, don't do that," as you witness minuscule actions that could change the game in a heartbeat. One of the coolest unique items in Blackout is a consumable Reconnaissance robot. It doesn't seem incredible at first, since it can't blow people up and collect items, but knowledge is power, and discovering that a player is hiding in a bed of bushes just over the hill north of your position can be the difference between a big win or a devastating defeat. Using the tiny bot takes you out of first person and leaves you vulnerable during the investigative process, so finding a safe spot to do recon is an important part of the process. The teammate is securely scouted by the unobtrusive robotic contraption, giving the enemy an exact location for tossing a game-deciding flashbang. An unceremonious but epic end to the game occurs as a blinding light engulfs the teammate, followed by a salvo of gunfire. The game ends and a new one begins. They all have stories. They may not be a curated experience of mind-bending mayhem that Treyarch is known for. There is a lot to be said about players creating their own memorable moments, cobbled together and crafted from a Blackout toolbox. That time when you ran a cargo truck over 2 fully geared players who are running for the circle, that time when you sniped the chopper pilot and brought down an entire enemy team skirting the edge of the play zone. These are sandbox style stories being created every time, whether you go out in an early fist fight or epic vehicle battle. There are a few matches in and starting to get the hang of things. The game runs smoothly for a pre-beta build, hovering right around 60 frames per second on the PS4 Pro. What's more, they start to discover new and interesting applications for the multiplayer abilities that turn into powerful consumables. A sensor dart, for example, is a simple tool on the surface. You just shoot it and it gives valuable radar info and shows enemy locations. But here in the open world, you can get far more imaginative. You can stick the dart on a car or a chopper to give you a mobile intelligence network, and watch as it provides you info from far away. You can hole up in an attic as a circle dials down to nothing and make use of razor wire or trip mines. You can put a recon bot on a boat, send the boat far downriver, and end up with critical info before moving in with your actual team. They begin to see all kinds of ways to interact with the environment and the various applications of the boatload of toys available in Blackout, and it's an enjoyable journey of discovery. So all in all, what were the person's impressions after playing Blackout? And after playing it for 2 hours, the battles flew by. The pacing, the shooting, the map size all felt great. The vehicles are awesome to roam around in, whether you're scouting, unleashing an aerial assault, making a mobile stockpile, or ripping down the river. Wingsuits and base jumping give you unparalleled mobility. Zombies provide a tension spike in the action and incentivize players to collide. They were initially concerned that many of the items were multiplayer abilities, but the grappling gun, sensor dart, razor wire, and barricades all have wild applications in Battle Royale. Even at the pre-launch state, Treyarch say Blackout has undergone extensive changes. The aspect of a constantly evolving living map and mode is tantalizing and already has the person hooked. While other Battle Royale games have attempted to entrench themselves with first mover advantage, Blackout is poised to be a powerful grenade holding to those bunkers. After spending hundreds of hours in the genre, this person walked away incredibly impressed with Blackout and eager for more triple chopper battles and zombie interrupted duels. Paired with zombies mode and the traditional multiplayer, Black Ops 4 looks to be primed for a big year. Whew, that was a truckload of information, as well as some new screenshots which you saw throughout this video. If you're still watching at this part, then make sure you give yourself a pat on the back, because this has been a friggin' long video, but a super informative one, for arguably the most informative video that you will see here on YouTube with regards to Blackout details ahead of us getting the beta or a gameplay trailer. All news about Blackout and zombies is going to be coming very soon, and over the course of the month, Game Informer are going to be releasing even more information. So if you want to stay up to date with the latest to do with Black Ops 4, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss any uploads. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on another video very, very soon.